fuck? Azubu.clg.
Yo, what's up? Nice intro, John.
Wow, sorry, I didn't know it was
What the fuck? Just Azubu bot MLS. Oh, gosh. Welcome to Climbing the Ladder, guys, episode 31. I'm your host, ChanmanV, and joining me, as always, is John, and Mark will be joining us very, very soon. He's kind of in a meeting that he's wrapping up right now. But we'd like to welcome again to the show Mr. Paul Chaloner, a.k.a. ReDeYe. What's going on?
Good, all good stuff. How you doing?
Good, man. So, I mean, last time, I think right before you came, or you were saying on the show last time, you were announcing that there was you had something big to announce, like the day after or something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty close, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that like,
should have missed it, man.
23, something like that?
Something like that. I should have waited a week later to have you, man. That would have been really good.
I got cajoled by JP, and he got a bit of an exclusive for Real Talk out of it.
That's true. Did you announce it on that show? God,
I did, yeah.
That JP, man. But anyways, belated congrats on the ESL TV job. That's going to be awesome to have you officially back in esports, from a full-time standpoint. Good stuff. Yes.
A real job, right? Not a normal job.
A real job. A real job earning real money in esports.
What is that like?
Fucking heard of.
Dollars.
What is that like, man?
I'll let you know.
It. Exactly. So, John, how's it going, man?
It's going well, actually. I'm quite motivated. I was excited to be on the show today. Normally, I don't.
I didn't even know you had glasses until today, dude.
I know.
Seriously.
They're actually fake. I just put them on the Paul mentioned it gives me like 20 points on my
It does give you
IQ.
Absolutely, it gives you 20 points more IQ.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I thought I'd try it. Maybe I'll get more followers this way.
I don't know if you get more followers that way, but yeah, it definitely makes you look smarter. That's for sure.
Thanks. No, I'm excited. This is I like talking to Paul. He had some interesting tweets this week that got my juices flowing a little bit. So.
Well, okay. Why don't we start out with that? I mean, talk to us about that.
It's not if we start early when we.
Sure, John. Mark doesn't care. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, he probably would care.
No, actually, he would care. Yeah,
because of his team. Yeah. Well, actually, Paul, just tell us a little bit about what you were tweeting about, and then we'll discuss it. It's not StarCraft 2 stuff.
It doesn't have to be. This is esports show, buddy.
I think it's important. So. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your
No, absolutely. So there's a Swedish team called WRTT. We run this town, who were playing in the Thor Open Qualifier, and they were playing ESC Gaming, who are the Golden Five, Poland's finest, the best 5 players that have ever come out of Poland for Counter-Strike, and playing them in a Counter-Strike Go, which ESC are relatively new to, but then everyone is. They also played NIP Gaming, who have not been beaten on LAN yet at any tournament that they've been to. They've won 4 out of 4. And WRTT, they didn't just run the town, they ran the roost over these two teams. They beat ESC 16-0, they beat NIP 16-10, and that caused the community to kind of go nuts. And, all sorts of kind of like, what the hell is going on? Who are these guys? Where have they come from? There's lots of stuff going around. Basically, they're not no-name players, but they're not, I wouldn't call them top-tier players. And there was accusations from ESC that they were cheating, and NIP then backed that up as well. So Thor, basically, there was a big furore going on HL TV and on Cadrid, who are the community sites, and the admins then said that they would investigate, which seemed reasonable. They then investigated, and they banned them from the tournament. And they banned them they've banned them on the basis of finding a text file which was opened as a receipt for a cheat that someone had paid for, a JW, a guy that played for WRTT, who basically was running a joke to say that he'd bought this cheat, and he showed the text file and what have you. But it's a really bad joke to play, dude. If you're going to mess around with cheating accusations and then you're going to be like trolling the admins with stupid text files which aren't real, well, then expect to get banned anyway. But the whole thing's an absolute mess. It really is. I mean, basically, you've got the Thor admins who've made some monumental mistakes with how they've dealt with this. They should never have reacted the way they did to the community pressure. They should have done it behind closed doors. I understand that they've looked at all the demos, and if not hundreds of hours of demos, well, so did I, and so did a number of other people, and we couldn't find anything wrong with the demos. Yeah, there's some shady stuff in there, but nothing you could say that's categorically a hack. And because of that, they should remain in the tournament. The fact that they've acted like idiots and tried to troll the admins has kind of backfired on them, and that's what's got them banned in the end. The admins have then apologised for making such a rash decision, but they've left the ban in place anyway. So the whole thing is a fucking fiasco.
Called it a rash decision.
I've dubbed this Thorgate because it's the only way you can kind of summarise everything that's going on. And it seemed like every other hour there was a new fucking post going up on HLTV. It was driving me insane yesterday and the day before. And it's just the kind of crap you just don't need. You really don't need it. People ask me, well, do you feel sorry for them? Well, I feel sorry for the admins because they were a bit naive and they've made some mistakes, but at least they've owned up to them. But they could have corrected it and made it right. I feel sorry for the fact that ESC made public announcements of their cheating when they should have just kept it behind doors. They should know better. And I feel sorry for the team that have been banned in some ways, other than the fact that they've acted like idiots and very immature. So, is there a fair ending to this? No, probably not.
It's funny how issues just snowball like that, right? Just little troll events that...
Yeah. It could be a minor mistake of just saying something publicly, especially with social media now, just saying something publicly, and then it just snowballs from there. The reason that I started following what you were saying is because I could see that there were other people that were tweeting against you, because you were making the point that you just made now that it was really a lot of people. It was a big mess, but in reality, there wasn't enough evidence for that team to be banned, and the organization caved into the community. And this is something I thought about. This happens more than we think. Things like this, and what was frustrating was hearing all of these people, all of the community members, just jumping on the fact that, well, because this team had cheated in the past or was accused of it in the past, and this text file, and even though you couldn't find anything in the demos, the team still ended up getting banned. Now, for what reason, that's not as important as the fact that what bothered me was that a lot of the community didn't understand that as an organization, you can't ban a team based on just heat from that community. I mean, there has to be very viable reasons to do so.
Yeah,
I mean,
that has the evidence.
Yeah, evidence, and there's just no evidence. I mean, they even said they looked at all the video and found nothing, and yet the team still got banned, and that was just really frustrating to see so many people, calling them out.
I think officially, John, though, they've been banned for stupidity reasons. So that's what they're banned for, which is a shame in the end, because if they hadn't done what they'd done, then I think the community would have come round to the fact that actually, regardless of what we think and whether we think, I mean, I still have my doubts about them. I'm not saying that they're clean. I'm not saying that they aren't clean. But, bottom line is that those results look odd. You can't get away from that. But they may have had the games of their life that night, and the other two didn't, and that's the way online goes some nights. There's just so many more things that could have been looked at in those games. It's a shame that we've had this in Counter-Strike Go, and I almost want to just put Thorgate away for now and just concentrate on the positive stuff of DreamHack at this.
Do they still have an opportunity to make it to the LAN final? What LAN final is it being qualified for?
It's the Thor Open LAN final.
So do they still have an opportunity? Because it'd be interesting to see them make it.
I don't actually know, because the weirdest thing is that Thor hasn't really been, and this is all due respect to them, they've done a fine job of putting these tournaments on, but until now they've been pretty much under the radar, and not many people have been talking about it, so it's got them some massive promotion for it, but it's the wrong kind of promotion, unfortunately. So I don't actually honestly understand the format and how the qualifiers work and who goes to the LAN finals, but... Right,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because it's something that, as an organizer, gets frustrating, and it was getting my blood boiling. Like, it sounds like it got yours boiling a little bit as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, only from a point of view that it's just so many different mistakes have been made, along the whole thing. I mean, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, if there was one less mistake, the actual incident would have been cut short, or much shorter, less drama. So it's funny how these things just kind of fall like dominoes. Like people go retard at the same time for some reason.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get back to I guess our topics that we were going to get to today, which starts off with the BWC Blizzard World Championships, which happened in China this past weekend. Were you guys able to catch a lot of it, or? Or
Yeah.
I know
I-
John. Jeez.
I was not. I was dealing with my own issues.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I didn't see much of the first day. I had a very poorly child to look after, and the times weren't conducive to UK viewing. It has to be said. But the second day, I woke up fairly early in the morning on Sunday. Watched some of probably the last 4 matches, I think, and all of the best of 7 final. Well, it wasn't a best of 7 in the end, but
Yeah.
all of the grand final as well. Yeah, so yeah, I had a fair crack at it.
Yeah, I tried to watch as much as I possibly could too. I think I missed, maybe a couple matches at the end of the day, just because I couldn't stay up any longer, or else I would probably I'd have an all-nighter, with 3 kids waking up, shortly after. So yeah, I caught the majority of it. I actually didn't catch all the games in the finals, at least for StarCraft, but yeah, I caught a little bit of WoW. WoW was pretty interesting, I have to say. I didn't
see any of the WoW.
Yeah, it was
No,
kind of interesting.
I refuse to tune into WoW streams.
Okay.
I did a WoW PvP tournament as the host in 2007 in Los Angeles, and I have to tell you, it's the most confused I've ever been at a gaming event. I actually had no idea what was happening, who was winning, who was losing, or whether a game had even been won. It was ridiculous, and I don't know if it's improved. Probably has, but
it's much better than that.
Yeah. I've got a really good friend at Blizzard, and she runs the World of Warcraft community.
Oh, boy.
And if she's watching now, she's going to hate me for saying it. But sorry, I just don't like it.
No, it was okay. The casters are a lot. I know what you're talking about, though, Paul, and the casters are a lot better now.
Yeah, I'm sure that the
I still
community.
can't follow it, Chris. No, I can follow. I listen to the casters. I can't follow it. I can't. My head wants to explode with all the colors and the unicorns flying across the thing.
Yeah,
I
you
can't.
you say that about WoW too, okay? I mean LOL too. So
That's what I'm saying about LOL. I'm talking more about LOL. I just can't. I
about
can't
WoW.
follow it.
Yeah. But anyways, it was kind of compelling, and I definitely saw some comments on Reddit and then Twitter that made it think that some people were interested in it. So who knows? Maybe another WoW event soon somewhere.
Yeah.
But StarCraft.
But the critical factor was not really the games or the matchups or the tournament.
Yeah.
It was the production.
Yeah. Yes. And then we're going to get to that with the production of StarCraft. So I know a lot of folks going into BWC were very, very hesitant about Blizzard hiring a local Chinese company to do the production, right? And I kind of want to lead in with the matches for StarCraft. I felt like were amazing, so it still made the tournament itself, very viable for me and entertaining for me. But man, the production was god awful, and and a lot of it has to do with hiring a Chinese company versus bringing just somebody here that's reputable and doing it. But,
look, Chinese production killing esports. Chanman says it live.
well, okay, not Chinese.
You just like telling every Chinese production team sucks.
Oh well, that.
I've tried to do production out in China, in Shanghai in 2005. We actually flew a 3-man crew out there to do it. And it's hard work because no one speaks Mandarin or Cantonese. And therefore, you're kind of stuck because you can't talk the language. So you can't get what you need to get from them to make sure that your stream goes live. So, yeah, it's pretty weird.
Speaking of stream, I think our stream died. The irony of it.
Weird. There we go. All right. Well, that was ironic, wasn't it? So yeah. Well, that would teach you for dissing Chinese production because they have ways and means of finding you and killing your stream.
So I'll put it out there right now. I will never produce a Blizzard major event. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put that out there.
But yeah, I mean, that aside, I mean, the first thing is a lot of people were dissing Blizzard, and that's wrong in itself because it's not, it wasn't Blizzard doing the production, it wasn't Blizzard sitting on the sound system, it wasn't Blizzard putting the dodgy camera work together. It wasn't Blizzard, and I get it. It's their responsibility because it's their tournament, and what have you. But the problem is that they've almost hurt themselves because they worked with ESL and DreamHack and MLG before, so they're used to a certain level. Now, I have to say, even though I'm going to be going to work for ESL, I have to say that DreamHack's production of WCS Europe was close to brilliant this year. I mean, it was probably the best production we've seen. And that's not dissing anyone else. It's just that the level they took it to was phenomenal, with the fill content and the way that it worked with the stage and the player introductions and the map choice. Everything was utterly amazing. Fantastic commentary team, and brilliant games, which you need as well. By the way, you need a bit of luck to get the great matchups and the great games.
Of course.
But they set the bar really high, and the problem was with setting the bar that high is that Blizzard going to China had to at least reach that same level or exceed it for anyone to be happy. And because they fell under it a long way, they're going to get a lot of abuse. Now, I don't think necessarily that they deserve that abuse, but for sure, and I think everyone is in agreement, and I saw a lot of tweets about this on Sunday morning, the production quality wasn't good. I mean, that's putting it politely. I mean, seriously, the sound issues were so bad. I mean, at one point in the final, the grand final, I had Tastosis so quiet that I was manually turning him up. And when he shut up and went to Tasteless, I had to turn him massively down. And even when I turned him down, he was blowing out my left eardrum. I mean, it's just like, how is that? How can you be a sound guy and get it that wrong? I mean, it wasn't just the NASL sound guy in there. It was the,
It was
the
two of
NAN
them. He brought his brother.
It was the stepbrother with the mask that's hidden in a dungeon.
Broken out his brother from maximum security and hired him for China to run the sound deck. Holy shit, dude, get it right.
And it wasn't just the finals. It was on multiple streams. I mean, I think I was watching Bitter Down. It was the same issue. Like, Bitter was like, his sound, his volume was just like vibrating the mic. I mean, it was so loud. And then
it was really poor. And I know there was some stuff off mic as well. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Guilty is charged.
I didn't have a chance
the stage. But it happens. But it happened so many times.
Was it this way for longer than a few minutes? I mean, did it?
Yeah,
Was it
absolutely. It was like this the first day and the second day, like all over the place. I think the best sound was maybe Day 9 and Apollo's stream. I think that was probably the one that had sound that I didn't have to like adjust the volume constantly, and didn't have people just yelling at the sound guy the whole time. Yeah, exactly. But so here's the thing. You're talking about DreamHack.
And cameras were poor, and the shots were poor. And do you know the worst thing for me? And this is a commentary thing, a commentator's thing. I really felt for Tasteless and Artosis on Sunday because it was clear to me that they had absolutely fucking zero production in their ear. And you need that guy in your ear. When you start to finish a game and you start to wrap up, you need the guy in your ear to be going, commercial in 30 seconds, or give me an out, or we're going to the stage, or we're doing, whatever it is, tell me what we're doing next, please.
Right.
And it was so obvious to me that they were fill, because they had absolutely no idea what was coming next because no one was telling them in their ear. And as a commentator, as a host, that is so scary. You have no idea what's coming, and so you're babbling, and because you're babbling, you're wondering what the hell's going on, hoping they're going to tell you, and then you sound like an idiot, and it's just horrible. I mean, that stuff again shouldn't be happening right now.
No, I totally agree, man. And not to mention they had 4 streams, and I swear there were many times where all 4 streams were showing nothing. Like,
what?
I mean, yeah, they had 4 streams where they could definitely, kind of like alternate them, right? At least the schedule, so that there's always a game on. Yet there were many times where I'd be like blank screens or those crazy commercial. I don't know how many times I saw the same blasted commercial that would just last forever.
So I don't think Blizzard will be working with these guys any longer.
I mean, so you made a good point earlier.
No,
Paul.
and I think that's what they learn out of it, don't they? They learn that unfortunately they won't be working with that team again. I mean, I'm still, I get it. I know where they wanted to be in China and releasing WoW and at the same time as the rest of the world and all the rest of it. But for me, it would have been better to have done it in North America or South America or, well, South Africa, frankly, anywhere other than China, because it just wasn't going to work. And why after successfully seeing what ESL and DreamHack and MLG could do with their product, did they then invite a fourth different person they hadn't worked with to stream something and produce something that was actually their golden nugget of the year, the pinnacle of everything? I mean, it was so lackluster. That's how I felt on Sunday morning. I was watching it thinking, I don't feel like I'm tuned into something that's gripping me, that's telling me the story, that's delivering me an experience that means I don't want to not tune in. And it didn't feel like a global final to me. And
I'm curious.
That's not the commentator's fault. It's just that the whole. It didn't show the crowd very often. Yeah, it was the feeling of it. It's very hard to describe what.
Did Blizzard make any comment as this was happening? I mean, were people paying attention to what was going on? And as far as that Blizzard, why is my camera off?
Mark just came in, so fixing.
I see. He overtakes me. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. No, they didn't. Of course, they're not going to say anything. I mean, geez. I mean, what are you supposed to say? Oh, sorry, our production sucks right now. I mean, seriously, they're not going to jump on and do that. It's so. Yeah, I mean, really, why didn't they hire just DreamHack to do it? I mean, would DreamHack do it or ESL? Would they contract?
I'm sure they would. Yeah, I'm sure they would have done it.
Come on. Even DreamHack
doing
doesn't
it in
have
China
an
would have
orchestra.
been hard.
Right.
What'd you say?
Even DreamHack doesn't have an orchestra.
An orchestra?
That was so sick. Riot season 2, they had the orchestra intro.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right, sure.
I
missed some orchestra like at the event, man. I was like, what the hell? Okay.
I was like, how come Riot has an orchestra? We can't get our audio levels figured out. What's going on? But yeah, no. I mean, I think it's just I think it's the fact that it was in China. I think it was the first thing. I don't know where that decision came from. Where did they decide to have this thing in Shanghai?
It was down to World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it was down to World of Warcraft.
Really down to StarCraft.
Yeah.
I mean, there was potential. I mean,
that makes sense.
Sen doing well. It was nice.
Mark, by the way. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining your show.
Sorry.
We're used to it, man. We're used to it.
You're a busy guy, Mark.
He is a busy guy.
It's a good thing.
These real life obligations, man, they're killer.
Well, we were just talking about that earlier, man, and Paul was talking about how nice it is to actually have, esports not have to juggle a day job in esports.
No, will be
very envious.
Very envious coming from a team owner.
Very envious of you. Yes.
Team owners are the hardest working people in esports. Trust me. Especially when they're holding down a day job too.
Yeah, exactly.
And have 3 kids, including 8-month-old.
Yep. Yes. I've seen Odie age like 30 years in 3 years. Odie used to have hair when I knew him.
Does Odie have a day job?
Well, he doesn't now. I mean, it is his full-time job, but he did. He worked in a stamp office before.
A stamp
I'm curious, how many team owners, I'm just curious to think about that. How many team owners have a normal day job? I'm curious.
Well, I know Jason Bass does. Jason Lake's a full-time thing for complexity. Dignitas full-time.
Right.
Sam Matthews does, for sure. But, Ann is very involved as well. And so, I mean, it just kind of varies, team by team, right? I mean... Mm-hmm. All three of us do. I mean, all 3 of us have, my 2 partners work at Google as engineers, and I work for a consultancy here in Houston that specializes in Microsoft technologies, which makes for interesting off-topic conversation.
Right.
I bet. Yeah, Scoots has a real job. They're talking in the Scoots has a real job. Why am I calling that a real job? But yeah, Scoots has a job outside of esports where he makes real money.
Scoots has,
exactly. That's where he gets all this from, guys. It's not EG.
Lengthy history as a event organizer and logistics specialist for huge events like the Olympics, like Coca-Cola, like all these kind of big events. And I think that he gets to go and do some of those events like throughout the year, and it makes him some money. That's really kind of cool.
Yep.
And of course, all that experience and all his broadcast experience feeds right into what he's doing with EG and One More Game. So it's kind of like
He's more on the broadcast side of things. I thought he was more on the logistics, like handling.
No, I think he's more in logistics from the events stuff that he has a history. And excuse me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think it's more on the logistics side from his events organizing experience, but I think more on the broadcast side from an esports experience. I think it's arguable to say that there's people out there who have more broadcast experience in esports than he does. I mean, look at the Masters Cup League. It's like amazing,
Exactly.
That's all scoots, right? So, yeah.
All right. Well, we kind of got off topic.
Let's talk about Paul.
Yeah, we kind of got off topic. Let's kind of finish up a BWC, and I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because I felt like there were a lot of storylines. There were a lot of like foreigners doing great, and I mean, I was trying to ignore the production as much as possible and just tweet the hell out of storylines and do that sort of thing. But unfortunately, the production seemed to still be a pretty big part of it. But anyway, talking about the play, I felt like the foreigners made a step. I was hoping it was going to be a huge step, but they made a step in the right direction.
I disagree. I think they were lousy. I think day one when they put some stuff together. I mean, like Idra or Idra, or however you want to fucking call his name.
I have the same problem.
I still have the same problem. I think with Baby Knight, I was pleased to see him come through as well.
Rain, man. I mean, that's huge.
And so, I think you can analyze it and say that actually there were some individual performances which were actually very good. But
right.
I mean, be honest, right? You can go back to any MLG this year, or any ESL, or any DreamHack for that matter, or any other league, and you can say that foreigners have had odd pockets of brilliance against Koreans. Mm-hmm. That's how it's been all year. So actually, I didn't think this was any different.
No.
And when you look at the results, the hard results are the fact that no foreigners finished in the top 4 of this tournament, and that's the reality we face.
Well, Sen's a foreigner, right? I mean,
actually, that's just
him as a foreigner.
He is a foreigner. He does not play in Korea. I mean, if anything, he's the foreigner of the foreigner. He plays with. He's the foreigner of the foreigner. He plays in China only, Taiwan and China only.
Paul, that's just because Sase wasn't there, bro.
Well, but the thing is, right, Jesus. I could have had a T-shirt printed before the BWC that says something like, spoiler, Asians win. And it would have been fine. I knew that T-shirt would still be valid for the next fucking tournament.
I'm not saying that. No, sure, you're absolutely right with that. And for me, I'm just looking for progress. And I feel like in MLG and in BWC, it's like the first time we're actually seeing foreigners taking series off Koreans. We've been seeing games here and there up until MLG and WC, but we're actually seeing series being taken. And, you can make a claim that Suppy, if it was any other tournament, it would have been a best of 3 probably in the round of 8. And Suppy would have beaten Parting. So it's...
But here's the real question, though. Here's the real question.
Yeah.
Does it even matter? Like, does anybody really care? Like, all American fans care about is that it did really well, and Suppy did really well.
Well, you know what? You know why they care about?
No, the fact that people want to root for their own.
You know why that's
whatever, right?
No. You know why that is, Mark? Well, for one, Idra obviously had. I mean, Idra's had the fan base since the beta. He deserves that fan base, whatever. But it's also because all of EG is tweeting non-stop during these damn things. I'm like sitting here like exchanging tweets with Jeff and Jake and all those guys, man, non-stop, not just the EG account, and that makes a difference, man. I mean you're gonna have more retweets and much more appeal to like the general community whenever an entire team is doing that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give a shout out to the Chilean Killer who made the last 8 because I thought that was
Killer
impressive.
was awesome too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but other than that, I wasn't massively impressed by the longevity that any of the foreign players had. I mean, obviously, Sen had a great tournament, but. The last 2 games I watched him in, he was ludicrously hopeless. I mean, he looked like I was playing.
Well, Parting. I mean, watch every one. Watch every one of Parting's. I mean, Parting against Scarlet is the same. Parting against. He's just incredibly awesome at that push and the follow up to the push. I mean, he's just got a strategy that is very, very good. So he would have made almost everybody look like that. And I mean, he Immortal pushed his way to at least $40,000 in that tournament.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty crazy way. And apparently it was because the first one got blocked that he decided to do it twice more.
Right. So I mean, Idra doing well. I mean, you say all that, but it's kind of good that people. I mean,
it's good great. Don't get me wrong. I don't misunderstand me that I think the foreigners did badly. I don't think they did. I had a slightly higher expectation. I thought Scarlett would have got further. Right, difficult draw in the knockout stage. I thought Stefano would have got out of the groups. I thought Nurcio would have done better. So I'm a bit sort of about it. And then when you look at the top four, and you think, well, would I have picked 3 Koreans for the top 4 before the tournament stage? Yeah, I would. So, as far as shocks were concerned, they were all on day 1 in the group stage. And yeah, the Europeans did really well, the North Americans did really well, South Americans did really well. But I don't know. I just thought maybe they would have done better, but I don't think they did badly.
Yeah, I don't know. I was encouraged by it, and Baby beating Rain was huge for me because Rain is arguably the best PvPer in the world. So
but it was to be expected. There's a couple surprises, right? I mean, in the Riot finals, it was two Asian teams, right? I mean, so what? It's not a big deal.
I think that's what Paul's saying is that this happens every event.
And let's be honest here. At a magnitudes of scale, both in production and viewership, WCS Europe Grand Finals was at a magnitude of 2 to BWC. 110,000 concurrent viewers to watch StarCraft. The most refined production of any stream ever produced. Till then or since. That was the Big Daddy.
It wasn't 2x WBC.
You're not going to get any argument from me.
It wasn't 2x BWC though, right? I mean, that's not right.
I think the problem is that, like I said,
110,000 viewers.
Yeah, they set a very high bar for the entire thing. The amount of people tuning in, the production values, the games that got played, the matchups, everything was at such a high level. So,
and there was no Koreans there, folks.
No, there weren't any Koreans. There were no North Americans either.
Didn't detract from the show one bit, did it?
No, it didn't. I think the only criticism I got after the WCS Europe was the majority of my North American friends complaining that they didn't get the same treatment. That was about the only complaint I heard.
Yeah, well, it's because we got handed off with the whole MLG thing and everything else. But I mean, I think that we learned from that. We learned from that WCS NA next year needs to be its own standalone event, and that's a clear. Whether that's delivered by MLG, that could be delivered by MLG. That's fine.
Absolutely, you could. Yeah, and I don't think there was anything wrong with the way that MLG put it on. But I think, in hindsight, when you look at what happened when it was just a standalone thing and it was put on a freaking Ericsson Globe where Justin Bieber was playing 3 weeks later, it kind of, the whole gravitas of the thing became a bit sort of like, oh my god, maybe that's how we should do it then.
Yeah.
But that's not a criticism of MLG in the way that they ran it. I thought they ran it fine, but it just, DreamHack upped the game for everyone.
I think that DreamHack presentation was at par in many ways, both in the size of the venue and the sense of the feel of the whole stream and everything with Riot's season 2 finale. I mean, it's hard to do that. It's just hard to do that, and that's kind of why I've always said esports is hard to do, but it's even harder not to fuck up because the people who've been doing this, like DreamHack and stuff, have been ESL, MLG. Even in ESL now, they've been doing this for a while. They've made every mistake you can make. They've been picked on. They've had the harassment and everything, and they've kind of come through that and learned how to do this in just the right way.
Yep.
And that's hard to do. And those people should be leveraged.
The good thing, Mark, and everyone, is that here we are sitting talking about it, and there are people in the making comments about it. Before, and Paul, you've said this, you showed it when you did your keynote address or whatever at the Congress, is that you look back at what we were doing before and the production value of it, and it was not only accepted, but you didn't hear people making too many suggestions about how to make it better because that just wasn't an important component of it. And now we're at a point where production value is very important. To see these organizations compete to up each other, to me is great because it's going to get us to a point where all of the production value is very solid. I mean, at some point
fantastic.
we're going to.
It isn't any different really. Back in the day when I was working with ITG, and we had TSN and we had GotFrag TV. They were the 3 big ones that streamed in the mid 2000s. And we would try and outdo each other. I mean, we would tune in to GotFrag and we'd see what Scoots was doing on the production and think, actually, that's pretty sick. Let's try and do that. and let's try and do something else better than they do. We'd look at TSNs and we'd look at what they were doing with their Sky Bridge and all the rest of it, and we'd think, actually, that's pretty cool. Let's see what we can learn. And I'm sure they were doing exactly the same with us, and we were seeing with what we were doing, and we were upping each other slowly. The problem we had was that we were fairly restricted in the bandwidth. Nowadays, bandwidth is not so much of an issue anymore. With streams going out in HD. I mean, DreamHack are doing it at the weekend free of charge in HD. So, we could have only dreamt about that 5-7 years ago. But it's no different. It's no different to other TV stations. If you look at it over the last 60 or 70 years of TV, they've all done exactly the same thing. They've all learnt from each other and tried to get better. I mean, there's a few things this year. I think that the coverage overall as a medium, if you look at it compared to the last 12 months in 2011, every single tournament that's produced something has got much better. In fact, even some of the small, tiny broadcasters who are, a couple of guys doing it from their home bedroom are doing it better than we were doing it as a company with 15 of us 5 years ago.
Right.
So the level has gone through the roof. It really has. And next year's going to be mind-blowing how good it'll be.
Somebody just mentioned in the chat that, now that we've gotten to this point, now we need to work on the storylines, and that's an interesting topic, because is it the responsibility of the production team to create that storyline, or is it just letting the event happen and finding that storyline? And maybe that's the problem, is maybe the organizations are so worried, so concentrated on the production value that they forget there is a storyline that can be shared.
Actually, John, do you know what? That the responsibility of the storyline is the commentators and the hosts. That's their responsibility.
Sure.
It's not really the responsibilities of the productions. It is to a degree in terms of making sure that it gets seen, but the stories come from the players, and it's the responsibility of the commentators to find those stories and play through them. So in other words, my prep this weekend.
Do they need to find
absolutely
the production team need to give that information to them?
No, they don't. No,
Okay.
A good
I'm just
commentator
asking.
will absolutely know this stuff. I mean, seriously, I'm looking at a spreadsheet in front of me right now, which has taken me 2 weeks to put together for the CS thing. And I can go to any page on any spreadsheet, and I can click on a number of different stories. I've got 40 to 50 stories for this weekend CSGO. Some of them will play out, some of them won't. But it's important as preparation for this tournament that I know what those stories could end up being. If NIP get beaten on one map, that's the first time they've lost on LAN. That's a story.
And we've talked about that, John. We've talked about this before.
We've talked about that. And when we've done Lone Star 1 and Lone Star 2, for Lone Star Clash 1, we brought the commentators at the point. We brought them it was probably a packet of 6 pages with information on each of the players, their results against the other players, so that they could have information that they normally, at that point when Lone Star 1 happened, a lot of the casters just thought, well, we show up and we cast, and that's it.
We also have to realize who was casting Lone Star 1 versus who was casting Lone Star 2.
We had Bitter, and
I'm not saying anything about the quality of the people involved. All I'm saying is that like Tastosis make this look easy is what I'm saying.
And maybe it's because they're doing their
any good commentator will make it look easy. That's the point. But you go in prepared. I'm a massive believer in preparation, and ask any of the guys that I've trained or helped become commentators over the years. Apollo being one of them. He'll prep.
Apollo does a great job.
He'll massive amounts of prep because he knows that we won't use 90% of our prep. But the bottom line is, if you don't prep, you don't know what the stories are going to be, and then when they happen in front of you, you can't commentate on them.
Right.
So I agree with some of the people saying in the chat, it's down to production to fill in the blanks, like history of the players and little backstories. Yeah, absolutely. It is part of the production's rights to do that, and they can get that with help from the commentators or the people in the community. They can do that. But in terms of driving the story through a tournament weekend, I want to introduce you and enthuse you about Counter-Strike Go from the word go, pardon the pun, on Thursday when things start happening in the matches. And I want to be able to thread that through all the way through to the grand final. Right. There'll be some threads that last that long. There'll be threads that last a couple of rounds. There'll be threads that last a whole map. I mean, for instance, would it shock you to know that NIP have only lost 3 rounds on Mirage? Well, they've only played it 3 times, and they've lost 3 rounds. Right. So if they lose more than 3 rounds in any one map on Mirage against any team, that's a story.
But I also think it's worth mentioning too, and I'm going to shout out Jenna Bain here and her folks over there at Axiom, who are really good at telling stories from a brand perspective. That's also equally important. I mean, if the teams don't market and brand the players in a way that makes their storyline coherent and understandable from the fans' perspective, that it all fits together and and you know who Chris Illusion Lee is, and he's, you know, this really young, talented American Korean Terran kid, and he's, you know, always well spoken, and he's always like, there's a persona there that is understood by the community. Then the caster's job becomes even easier because they're just threading the details into that actual storyline. It's not their story, but they're the ones telling it.
Yeah,
you know what?
But a lot of times...
you make a great point, because like, I've got 16 teams to prep for CSGO, which is tiny in comparison to some tournaments that I have to go and do with 64 teams. But can I find even the 5 men who are likely to line up for all 16 of those teams? Can I? No. I can go to Team Dynamics' website and I can find 8 players listed in their roster for CSGO.
Yep.
Now, as a commentator, if I haven't got a clue who's playing in their team, how the bloody hell is anyone else going to do that until they turn up on the day? How can I prep, selfishly now, but how can I prep when I don't know which players they're going to be playing? That's down to the team to have made sure that their roster page is up to date and has some detailed information about their players. Common sense, real basic stuff to market their own players with. Now, I'm not picking on Team Dynamic. They're just one of 7 or 8 clans, actually, that don't have pictures of their players. Now, I put pictures in all my spreadsheets so that as a commentator, if that guy pops on screen, I know who the fuck he is. I can't memorise 96 players, so I have to use a cheat sheet.
I hope we have a lot of commentators listening to the show today.
Well, I mean, so whose responsibility is it to provide this info? Because we're bringing on... Who?
CSGO.
No, seriously. Like, we're talking about all these things, but
no matter if the production crew came to him and gave him a packet full of information, it's just as important for Paul to sit down and go through this and do some of his own research. So I think it has to be a little bit of both. I mean, if he just does it and the production crew is not even on board with it, then they miss part of that storyline too. And it doesn't matter what Paul says if they don't pan the cameras to the right area, if they don't bring up a stat. So it has to be working together in some way.
And John, it is most of the time. I mean, you know, backstage at WCS Europe, for example, there would have been myself talking to the production team saying, oh, by the way, don't forget, what will happen is in this game, if this happens, then you need to make sure that we're on this guy and we show this because he's going to be quite emotional. For instance, the Grubby game is a perfect example. I said to them, if Grubby wins this match, I guarantee you his emotions will really come out. You need to stay with him at the end of the game and just follow wherever he goes. He might, you know, he might do some really wacky stuff, or he might just come down and sit with me. But you need to stay on him. Don't go to the casters, just stay on him. And they go, that's great, brilliant. Because that's input from me about knowing about the guy. So they then know that. So then that's in the production thing. That's in their mindset. So there is a bit of give and take. And sure, I'm not saying it doesn't matter to the production team, but it has to come from the community people. It has to come from the players. It has to come from the teams. And it has to come from the commentators. I feel a really... You probably get my drift already, but I feel a really keen responsibility to making sure that what we say is the truth. It's what works because people are listening to us and we become the voice.
Yeah, man, you can ask John. I absolutely believe so much in that because there are so many. Like you said, the casters have a lot of responsibilities and they can make up for a lot of shortcomings with the production, right, and the storytelling. So, yeah, I mean. Yeah, I absolutely agree. There just needs to be more resources from everybody in the community, and then a lot more.
Do you know the funny thing is, preparing for StarCraft 2 is actually a piece of cake.
It is.
And do you know why? Is. Liquipedia.
Yep. Yeah. Liquipedia is great, man.
But
Paul, between Team Liquipedia, and a few players that I talked to, my prep is a piece of cake. It really is.
Right.
Prepping for this CSGO tournament this weekend is doubly hard because we haven't had that many tournaments already, so there isn't much to talk about. Stats-wise, HLTV.org do a great job of recording the stats, but they don't record all the stats, and some of the stats are messed up. For instance, if I look at NIP, for example, great, I can see that they've played 25 games, they've won 24, they've drawn 1 and they've lost none, and I can even break it down by maps, and I can even break it down by how many they win on the pistols and how many they win on T-side and what have you. Fantastic, brilliant. Yeah. What I can't tell you, though, is what GetRight's personal scores are in CSGO, because they're all mixed into his 1.6 stats. So according to HLTV.org, he's made 14,344 kills this year. Well, I'm pretty sure he hasn't. He's not that good.
No, he's not
good,
that
good.
good.
Kind of what you're talking about, though, I've had a problem in the past, and I've said this before, is that It used to be, and used to be is relative because it is fairly recent, actually. That a lot of casters or commentators, they didn't do any of this. They pulled up Liquipedia during the tournament. Some of them had no clue how the brackets were working or anything. It's so frustrating.
Casters, dude, any casters need info? Come ask me, man. I can give you a million storylines if you need them for players.
You're right. I think that there are a lot of we've said this before. I think probably on this show actually, but yeah, there are a lot of commentators out there who have got the passion for the game. Some of them might even have the right voice or face or whatever that fits. But what they don't have is the utter dedication that you need to take it to the next level, and preparation is that. It's saved my ass so many times. It really has. Yeah. People often ask me, what's the key to success? Preparation. That's for me. It's
right,
it's the big.
Maybe that's why you're going to make real money now.
Not preparation H, but preparation.
All right, let's wrap this up because we got to get to some. We got a lot more good topics too.
By
The new Twinkie. Put that back up there. It's going to be the new Twinkie and Ho-Hos. Now that we don't have Hostess, man. Wagon wheels, guys. Wagon wheels.
Wagon wheels.
Every show we try to pimp one item. Just try to pimp one item.
Our attempts to get it sponsors.
Right. Yeah. We just figure if we
sponsor. What are those?
Exactly. Right. But okay, come on. Let's transition into our next topic, which is another big one. So this is going to take another 45 minutes right here. So the MLG DreamHack ESL partnership. Obviously they announced. Let me bring it up real quick. They announced a partnership between these three organizations. I think the day after the show, like Wednesday of last week, right? And
when we talked about it.
Did we talk about it? We didn't talk about it.
I think we talked a little bit about a circuit idea, or maybe that was the week before.
Oh, so something like basically right after David got off our show. I mean, they pretty much announced it. So, hold on, let me just bring it up. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been talking. Obviously the Congress, Paul, that you were moderating for. A lot of these things came up. Whether we should create. A little bit of talk of creating an organization association, but just really working together, right? And the first steps of working together, we feel like we're the Congress, and this I feel like is the first concrete thing that's been announced where we're actually seeing them, publicly, making a statement that hey, we're going to be working together. We're working together. We're going to be using the same ranking systems. We're going to try to use the same formats, and even kind of joining efforts in marketing. So what are y'all's comments on that while I try to bring this puppy up?
Okay. You want to start, Paul?
Sure. I'm extremely proud. I think I tweeted out that I was very proud of the fact that these three intrinsically different leagues with very different egos and ideas involved in them, none of them wrong, none of them right, have decided to work together on some of the common ground that we raised at the Valencia Esports Congress. And it feels, and this isn't a personal thing, but it just feels like the Congress, I feel vilified now because the Congress was slated by a lot of people as something that was a bit of piecemeal for the community, bit of a bravado showing, never going to achieve anything. And I kept telling people that actually, real progress is possible when you bring these type of people together. And I just feel so good that, we can see just a month on from that conference that a small amount of work has been done, which has enabled just three sets of tournaments that are very different to come together on common ground. So I see it as only a positive thing. And to those that are now saying, well, it doesn't include my clan and my team and my league, well, no, it doesn't. And it's just a start. It's like phase 1 of 54 phases. They're not saying that they're shutting anyone else out. They're not saying that they're, not going to include anyone else. It's going to be a good thing, I think, for the future, and it opens up a ton of more possibilities. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree too, and it's something there when our stream. Shit.
Our stream went down?
No, our stream didn't go down. It's just Chris is putting up something.
Oh, sorry.
I just switched over so they could see, what the announcement was.
So yeah, I agree, and it's something that I've been talking about for a few weeks now, and I have a little Skype channel that we had a little discussion about this specifically, about those organizations, or several of them, even if it was two, coming together and creating some sort of circuit. I think there's a huge amount of possibility here. I think it's great, and I think that what I would like to see is that all three of them can remain just as unique as they were before.
Yeah.
Their tournament formats can be still unique. I've always been a proponent that at least if they're all together, part of the sanctioning should be that all of the tournaments have some sort of open component to it, so that anyone can get into them. That's really the key, in my opinion. But I think the whole thing is excellent, and I can't wait to see where it goes. There are some things that I'm a little bit worried about, like their ranking system and stuff.
We got the 2 ranking system guys on the show right now.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see where they go with it. If they go one route, John, I will make sure to get on
honestly, board. I've not had that conversation. I've had a conversation with some guys internally at ESL about rankings, because obviously it's something I'm very passionate about. Mm-hmm. It's something that I've developed, but only on a very basic level for solo players. I've never done it for team plays, so that's going to be a new challenge. But as far as I'm concerned, the more people that input to it, the better. And
good. I already reached out to David at ESL.
I think it makes absolute sense to find the right kind of systems, and if there are ones already in place, then why reinvent the wheel? So, I'm not. I really this is not going to be a ranking fight, that's for sure.
Right.
I just think I was actually laughing at something else. Someone said, "Does this mean we'll have extended series in IEM now?"
Right.
No, what it does mean is that you won't have extended series in MLG.
Thank you for clearing that up.
But see, again, that's one thing I was saying. Everyone, when the Team Liquid thread, were saying, "Well, great. Now this means we won't have extended series." But honestly, as much as I dislike extended series, if MLG wanted to keep it, let them keep it. I still think there's a way that, very similar to like golf, the PGA. Every golf tournament has its own uniqueness about it.
Yeah, sure. And I don't think no one's trying to remove that. Yeah. So I think it has its place. But the extended series thing is not an ESL thing on MLG or me on MLG. It's basically from conversations I've had with Sundance, is that he's had enough of extended series.
Nobody likes it.
I don't think it's going to be there next year.
Nobody likes it, so it's a no-brainer.
Sundance likes it.
Yeah, but no, you make a good point though, John. I mean, I think tennis is a better example, because tennis has the clay, the grass, and the hard courts, right? So, I mean, I like the fact that it's MLG's grueling and it's a freaking crazy ass gauntlet, and DreamHack is this nice pool system or whatever. I like it. I
think the only thing that needs to be across the board agreed on is that for it to be a real circuit, I think there needs to be some sort of open component, especially if you're going to group the rankings together. I really think that's key, and we'll see.
Yeah. And in terms of the other question that was in there, me versus Too Good in a CS face-off, he'd get creamed. He would get absolutely murdered.
Dude, that is
by a 41-year-old.
That is a
he wouldn't be good.
So I'm gonna
challenge thrown down, man.
I'm gonna address this question in the chat, which has been asked over and over again, and I'm gonna come out with my devil's advocate hat on, and say, all right, do you guys think ESL, DreamHack, MLG will be specifically avoiding associating themselves with IPL due to David Ting's comments?
I saw that. Yeah.
Let me just say this: as much growth as we've had recently, esports right now is at a stage where this is a no man left behind operation. And when I say no man left behind, I don't mean every little rinky-dink team, league, and the tournament in the world. But I mean, we can't afford to go without all the people who unquestionably and legitimately need to be there. And I think if Riot and their direction is an indicator of things to come in the future for other titles, we may see the regulation of all of this happening from the publisher level rather than the league level. And it's important,
I don't disagree with that.
It's important that IPL and NASL and GSL and these other tournaments, whether that's in a tiered structure, whether that's figured out through the point system or whatever, it's important that all the people who have a legitimate seat at the table have that seat at the table. It'd be like the teams getting together and not including EG. Like, you just can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, they have to do that.
Do you think it was exclusion of those, or I look at it like NASL doesn't fit. They don't fit the model. If I was in NASL, I'd be like, that's fine. We're going to still do our own thing. We're a league.
But it doesn't matter. I think that the point is almost being missed. Sorry, guy. I think the point's being missed.
Exactly.
Is that actually this isn't an exclusive partnership between MLG, DH, and ESL. It's a start of a partnership. That's it. You know, phase one is this: three particular tournaments come together because they find some common ground. If David Ting has a difference of opinion at IPL, then I fully respect that, and I think everyone else should as well. If he has his hands tied corporately in some way that means that he can't be part of this, then that's what it is. If he has an opinion that means that he doesn't want to be part of it, then that's what it is. No one is saying that IPL can't come into this when they feel ready to come into this. No one is saying that NASL can't come into this.
I even remember the quote from David is as if, I mean, he was... They already have an open offer for IPL to be in it, like in 6 months or something like that. You know, even after he made those comments about you know, the publishers are already, you know, that being redundant because the publishers are kind of doing it. I think he already made the statement that.
I mean, I think all of you guys are missing my point, which is the fact that what's more important than having a unified point structure and a unified this and a unified that and all the rest is having all of the major tournament events working together in one body in a negotiable capacity with the publishers and the teams. There's 3 vectors to this equation.
Yeah, Mark, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that is the case. It absolutely is the case, and I totally get that from you. What I'm saying is that you can't build Rome in a day. This is part one of 57 bits of part. And, you know, I don't know what's next because I'm not party to the conversation, but as far as I'm concerned, the next stage is talking to the publishers and getting them involved. Then that's the next stage, and no one has said they're not going to do that. So
it's progress in one of the vectors.
Sort of speculation. Is there any fear? Is there any fear though with what Blizzard and Valve and Riot have done lately? Is there any fear that this will be a power struggle? That they won't be able to sit at the table?
No, absolutely not. Every one of these. No, I know.
I'm terrified of a power struggle. Personally,
well,
I am too, actually.
DreamHack and ESL all have fantastic relationships with Riot, with Valve, and with Blizzard. I don't see any discourse. I don't see any disharmony. I don't see any blood being shed. All I see is partnerships, meetings, understanding of what they're strong at and what the publishers are strong at, and making sure that those strengths come together and produce something that's fantastic for everyone to enjoy. So I'm not sitting here naively saying this either. I'm saying it genuinely that they're the conversations I see going on. So I think it's an absolute. It's fine to have that fear. I would have that fear too. And I think we should be wary that becomes a problem and a power struggle, but we shouldn't be held back.
Let's see what Mark says here.
I know that people are afraid. I know that people are worried. I know that when this news came out and it just showed up on the ticker, right, the news ticker, right, you know, I know that I was reaching out to MLG right away. I mean, you know, has there been reach outs to the teams from this particular group of 3 leagues yet? You know, not to my knowledge. I don't know. Maybe there has, maybe there hasn't.
Like I said, Mark, we're just getting ahead of ourselves. This is part one of 57
My point is that there's so many people with their hand on the trigger here. You see what I'm saying, Paul? And it's
absolutely. But this is better than having nothing at all. It's a start. It's somewhere to get off the ground.
Great, and I applaud them for making that first step. I think it's a critical first step. But at the same time, I think that the messaging and the positioning of all of this is critical to the ultimate success or failure of this endeavor. And I think that to leave unanswered questions about IPL and NASL, for example, to leave unanswered questions about whether or not regulations that are going to be drafted that may affect teams are going to include the teams in a negotiating presence in that dialogue, be left unanswered, is dangerous. Like, I think, and that's not to say that this collaboration is a collaboration between teams and leagues. It's not. It's between these 3 leagues, these 3 organizers specifically, and that's the primary thing. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is,
and there isn't. I mean, I can honestly say to you, there is no one excluded from this, and there is no one included in this at the moment. It's just 3 tournaments that have found some common ground that they can share, and hopefully that leads to greater collaboration with other leagues, with publishers, with players, with teams, with organisations. That's how I see it going. I mean, I could be massively wrong, but I think that's what I get from the people involved in it as well.
That's what I'm hoping.
But no one is saying, "Ooh, let's not include the teams." No one's saying, "Let's include the teams," but because actually no one really knows the roadmap yet. This is just the beginning of something, and we're not even really sure what the beginning of this something is, other than just a general agreement on some of the things that we all agree on.
Right, and I guess that's where the disconnect is for me. When I look at the Valencia conference and I see where we were at the Valencia conference and discussions that happened from the goodwill that was expressed there, and then fast forward to a press release that says this agreement is being formed between these three leagues, there's a whole litany of unanswered questions there.
Yeah, because they don't have the answers either, and they haven't probably even posed the questions because they're not.
In that case,
it's not that advanced yet.
That the approach is almost more important than the thing itself.
Sure, but that's not going to be done in public anyway.
Right. Okay. Well, I know that there's. I
think what we have to do, Mark, is we almost have to sit on the fence for a year and say, okay, what would be reasonable expect to be done in a year, and what would we expect to see happen in a year for teams and players and other organisations and publishers and what have you. And then if they haven't done that by this time next year, we hold them accountable. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. But to be saying that after a week and a month after the Congress finished,
I'm not saying anything.
I know you're not, Mark, but
I'm not saying anything about MLG or the leagues. What I'm saying is that I fear an arms race, if that makes sense. That's what I fear.
Mark, if they would put something in the press release that mentioned, them working with different teams and trying to bring the teams into the fray of things, would that have given you a little bit better sense that this was going to include the teams at the seat? At the
table. I mean, I think that couldn't hurt, but I don't necessarily think that that's like, oh my God, they didn't mention me, so I'm mad.
Right. Well, I'm just wondering.
What I'm saying is that they make this assumption, I think, that we're disorganized, and I think that may not be the case. I think it's important that everybody.
I think it was. No,
I think it's important.
Well, I've said it to Mark.
Everybody's organizing, right? The publishers are organizing their titles. The leagues are organizing their, rule sets and dates and everything. And everybody's getting their shit together. And there's going to be a point where we all have to come together, and concessions are going to have to be made. And people are going to have to say, you know what, working together is worth more than.
Absolutely. No, I think everyone involved in this understands, those on the inside and the outside understand that we operate in a tiny niche of a niche already, and therefore we can't afford to kill each other, and we can't afford to ruffle stomp all over each other's grounds. We have to give a bit of give and take, and we have to work together. So I think that's absolutely what this is about. I mean, a year ago, if I'd said to you, Mark, MLG, DreamHack, and ESL are going to come together as a partnership, you'd have laughed at me. You'd have told me I was off my tree. I've been smoking something. So, look how far we've come in a year.
Well, I mean, if you were to have told me a year ago that that me and Alex Garfield would be on speaking terms, I would have laughed at you too. But hey, the fact of the matter is that we all have shared interests here, and we all have things in common. Yeah. I mean, EG's problems today are likely to be my problems tomorrow. I mean, and I think it's the fact of the matter is that. The thing that concerns me the most is that the risk and the benefit isn't commiserate. That's what I care about. I want to make sure that
I totally get it. I do understand, Mark. And I wish I had more information to be able to tell you that it was different, but I don't. I'm not intrinsically involved in it. But from what I know from the outside looking in, and from those that are closely involved. As far as I'm aware, there is no exclusion. So right now, there's no one saying these people should be included or these people should be excluded. And so we have to just take it on face value for what it is right now, an agreement that's very small, but there is baby steps, and see where it goes.
Paul, you said that you have talked to people that know a little bit more than yourself because you haven't been involved with the talks. Do you get a sense of of any direction with anything.
No,
that's been
I
talked
don't.
about. Okay.
I honestly don't. I really don't. I don't get any sense that anyone's holding anything back. I don't get any sense that this is the next step. I think this is a step, and it's a case of, well, okay, let's see how this works out, where we find the common ground, and then see where we go next. I don't think anyone's actually sat down and gone, do you know what? Here's the plan for world domination, and this is what we're going to do in month 1.
Hopefully we get that.
There may be that plan, and it may be leaked on Reddit. But
I mean, it could always, this thing could fall apart tomorrow too, guys.
Yeah,
it's not like a
I'm just gonna
stable thing.
The first time we sit down with all 3 of us, and when I say all 3 of us, with me being ESL, obviously, and they say, right, we've got a tournament in January. Well, we want ReDeYe to go and do the MLG, because the commentators are effectively all involved in this as well, because we're interchangeable between the 3 tournaments. And the first time MLG said, right, we want ReDeYe to go and do this hosting on this one, and ESL go, right, we want Clutch to come over and do this in Germany. And they go, well, no, because we need him for that. And then, well, the first time that argument kicks off, where does it happen? Where does it go? I don't know the answers to this. It could all fall apart at that point, couldn't it?
Yeah,
So,
I can tell you this right now. Let me just say this, that from my perspective, right, and I think that many of the owners of the top teams share this perspective, but I may be wrong, so let me qualify that. But I mean, from my perspective, the leagues have made great stretches this year and last year of helping the teams get players to events. The publishers have made great stretches of, I think everything is improved. But still, that being said, I'm on hold for StarCraft 2 right now. And if anything, I'm pulling back, because the amount of expense that I'm incurring to get my players to events, 40 events a year, isn't worth the exposure return that my partners are getting. So if my partners can't pay me, I can't put players on planes, we don't go to as many events next year. That's a fact. Now, how it all pans out into the dates and the structures and all this stuff, that's great. But I mean, we just can't send every player to every event that we did this year. And I think that's true for every team out there. This year was a burn the house down, putting players on planes year. No. We can't do that again. That's crazy. There's no money for that.
Yep.
So, I mean, call it what you will. I mean, that's just a fact. And I think that there's a lot of value being delivered to the tournaments by having specific players there and everything else. And I think that there's a concern among the teams as well. Whether or not this is shared or not, I don't know. But I mean, there's how do the publishers and the leagues view our business model? Do they view our business model as necessary? Do they view us as being here in 10 years? I don't really know the answers to those questions.
I mean, we're mainly just talking about travel expenses, right? And living expenses.
And Mark, I'm sure that these guys are getting wind of a lot of what the teams are talking about. I would hope that they would. If I was going to sit down and create an outline for this, which I have, for this sort of a partnership, the teams would definitely be included in that outline of, okay, how can we help everyone grow? Because, again, I think your point is that it's great and all that these guys get together and they're going to make some sort of partnership, but if they don't include one component of it, which is the teams, which is basically the personalities, it'd be like the NFL not including the teams. It just wouldn't make sense, right? So I think that they will do that. I hope that they do that, but I can understand your concern that maybe they're not thinking that way. They're not thinking of any sort of model in which the teams will be able to better afford going to all of their events.
No, and I think it's also important to mention that sponsorship sales are getting, compoundingly more difficult to close. Mm-hmm. I mean, from a team perspective, it's just we don't have the venue. They do. They have the venue. We have the talent. Mm-hmm. That requires some collaboration. Otherwise, it's one of those situations where, look, MLG's not even doing exclusivity now. They have two headset vendors, in their ad spreads for their placements on their events, right? There's they're definitely getting out of the sponsors are controlling MLG mode, right? We're converting from sponsorship to ad buys now.
Mark, what I talked about in my idea of a circuit is that the idea of a circuit is that the circuit itself can be its own brand. And imagine all 3 of these or more groups coming together and reaching out to a much larger sponsorship base now, outside of what we're used to in the demographic of esports, and being able to say, like in NASCAR, they have specific sponsors for the circuit itself. So you can still have all three of the tournament organizers doing their own thing in a way and having their own sponsors, but a non-conflicting big sponsor like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or McDonald's is going to sponsor this esports circuit. At that point is when you can start to include how do we get that back to some of the teams that are being a part of this.
Yeah, I mean,
well, I think the teams look at it from the standpoint of, hey, look, anybody can put on an event in a venue and put a stream up and, da 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 da. But if the players that people want to watch don't show up to participate, nobody's going to watch.
Right. I mean, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about rev share with you guys, or are we talking about like your travel expenses should be paid? I mean, like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know that there's a defined model there. All I know is that right now, at least from a travel expenditures perspective, for sure, that the teams are definitely bearing a disproportionate amount of the cost burden for getting the players that people want to watch and tune into to these events. Some 18 plus of them every 3 weeks, all over the world.
Right.
And that there is associated expenses with having those players and and training those players and moving them around in the back scene and all that stuff. And in order to cover those expenses, we look to sponsors, right? And if the sponsors aren't sponsoring us, they're sponsoring the events, we have a problem.
Somebody mentioned something here, I want to get everyone's opinion on this, and this is something that's been very interesting, is that, and hopefully some of the unification or the partnership will include a conversation on this topic, and that is payouts. There is some huge disparity in some of these events where the top guy is making $100,000, the second place guy makes 12, and then it gets low and they only pay out the top 8. What do you guys thought?
It's like $4 million in prize pool, and it's all earned by like 10 to 14 people on the planet.
Right. What is your thought on the? I mean, you have 300 people show up at a tournament, and you're only going to pay the top 16, and it's the disparity is huge. What are you guys' thoughts on some in the community saying a way that we can help the teams is spread that out a little bit? Like the IPL pays like the top 32 players in StarCraft 2.
I don't even think
it helps, but it's not going to make a huge.
We don't take prize pool. Yeah,
I mean, they only take a small. Even if you guys did, you take a small percentage. So that doesn't even make a dent into what he's talking about.
Well, I mean, that of course goes back to the model of the teams. I mean, maybe that's something that needs to be looked at too. Is that
let's also take a look at. There's a $50,000 prize pool. Let's just suppose a $50,000 prize pool for MLG Providence, right? Which is like the Nationals or whatever you want to call it. There's $110,000 at least of travel expense to get the players there. Mm-hmm. So even if you took that prize pool and cut it in half, you're still not really. And you said half the prize pool is going to go towards player travel or whatever. I mean, you still have. But you know what? But that gets us somewhere. Like I think that's really where the teams are at right now. Is we're just looking for some relief, because I mean, look, and I'm not saying it's MLG's fault or it's ESL's fault or it's anybody's fault. I mean, the fact of the matter is, MLG 2 years ago wouldn't even let us put logos on our jerseys. I mean, at least we've come further. We're like things have gotten a lot better. But I mean, it's just one of those things where, it's expensive to do this. That's a fact. It's expensive, and the fans they'll buy some merchandise and they'll buy some T-shirts and stuff like that. But I mean, do they want to pay for this content directly? No. The answer's been very clearly no. And the sponsors and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, there are people sponsoring teams, but it's getting harder and harder to close those deals, harder and harder to find those qualified leads. I mean, people just,
Well, let's hope, Mark, that it will get easier if a partnership can be reached and additional sponsors can be found. Because even if it's them that's finding it, this is why I've said before, I mean, one really good thing about what MLG does is they are able to pull new sponsors into our little world of esports. And by doing so, it pulls others along. And it gives guys like you an opportunity to grab some of that. And let's hope that is a benefit of it. But I hope ultimately, like you said, I hope that they do include the teams at the table. My fear has always been that there's going to be a power struggle, and I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think it's basically one of those things where I don't know the answers, John. I don't know the answers, Paul. I mean, we don't have the answers, right? And I don't think that the answers. I mean, I think whatever answers are come to, really, it's a collaborative thing. Like the spirit of the Valencia conference and the spirit of Paul's questions that day, or those 2 days, was really, centered around the fact that this is a collaborative exercise. And I think it's important that there is an open collaboration with a recognition of the fact that there are 3 clearly defined factions who share mutual interests: the teams, the organizers, and the publishers. And the 3 of those folks need to come together and, figure out the answers. And,
Yep.
I mean, that's the work that is yet to be done that Paul's talking about.
Yeah, and hopefully, again.
Hey, Chris, I think the stream's down. Yep.
Is it?
Oh, it's back up now. Just blame it on Kevin Lynn, man. It's all his fault. He's on vacation now, too, so it's
Yeah.
easy.
Go ahead with your question, Chris. I'm curious. Oh.
I can tell you what's going on with IEM and DreamHack being in the first week.
This weekend,
We sent our players to IEM. We sent our players to DreamHack and not IEM. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, this month's been a clusterfuck, frankly, isn't it? Of when I think we were discussing amongst friends here back in October, like, what are we going to do in November to watch stuff? And the answer is, well, you'll have to miss some stuff, which is a shame because
you know what we're going to do?
Every single thing. So, what it's like for the players and the teams to send all these players, I have no idea. It's mind-boggling. I can't even cope, and I'm not even doing it.
I got a great fucking idea. How about we do a Home Story Cup in December 19th through the 22nd? What do you think about that? I literally hit this guy up on Skype, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, are you paying these airfares through the nose on Christmas week?
Mark, it's really funny, but 10 years ago I was running a league called Jolt League in the UK, and I was asked if I could run a Christmas Cup, and I was like, are you mad? Like, no way. We can't run. I mean, everything shuts down in December. Getting people to play a cup online in December around Christmas is hard enough. Sending them to a LAN tournament? You've got to be off your trolley, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, geez, I mean, there's no way. I mean, like, Complexity was like, well, we want to try to get some guy in there. We don't know those people. I'm like, well, you can take our slot, bro, because we ain't going to be there. I mean, like, it's ridiculous. I mean, like, what do we need? One more event this year. Hey, guys, can you guys find me another StarCraft tournament I can attend this year? Give me a break.
Yeah. Do you know what? I haven't been to enough tournaments. Yeah, we definitely need one on Christmas Day.
My lord.
Yeah, we can hear you. Oh. What?
Yeah.
No, can the stream hear us?
One guy can hear you.
They're trolling you now.
One guy.
Off month for esports. God, the bastards are trolling me. But this year is totally bucking that for sure, man. It's like you said, not even Christmas weekend is even sacred to these guys. So it's just
there is no off season.
Again, though,
there we go. Whatever you've done now, you fixed it.
Yeah. Again, this partnership can be a part of a fix for that. Because it can outline a specific season and give players 3 months off to do other stuff if they really want to do it. I mean, we don't.
Flash and
you don't have to go to those tournaments if you don't want. If you want to be a part of the circuit and the rankings, you have to participate in X number of events over a 9-month period. You get 3 months off. You can do whatever you want during that time and hopefully survive.
But the question is, how do we get to that position? The way I see us getting to that position is the start of things like this collaboration.
Yeah.
And I know that's me being cheesy, but it is because if those three companies agree a timetable that doesn't overlap with any of their events, then that's a good start, isn't it? And if they then decide that actually to show the public when their events are going to happen, they build one site that all three of them own. That's a calendarized site that only shows esports taking place between, like John said, January to October or whatever. Right. That's our season. The 2 months out of that are your time off. And then if other tournaments go into those 2 months off, well, then the teams have got a choice, haven't they? Because they've agreed to stick to the majority, which is the 9-month season. It's the same as Formula One. Formula One drivers can go off to
That's true.
Yeah, they can go off to Formula 2 and drive if they really want to during December, but they don't want to because they've been in Formula 1 for 10 months of the year.
Exactly.
And they're knackered.
Next year, there's not going to be a Lone Star Clash next year. There's not going to be a Home Story Cup next year. There's not going to be 40 events next year.
There will
because
be
the fact of the matter is that we don't need 40 fucking StarCraft events every year. So we need 18, right? So we need to plan those 18 and take the top guys, and then everybody else is going to have a problem. But I mean, I'm sorry, we can't support 40 events. We can't.
Yeah, but see, Mark, but the point is, you don't have to support it. You don't have to support them. And if the events want to be successful, they're going to have to find ways to support their own event, which may require that they have to reach out of their own pockets and say, if we want to make our event successful, we have to invite Quantic and pay Quantic to be there. But you, as a team organizer,
I wasn't talking about
go to these events.
Sorry, I was not talking from a team standpoint, John. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mean from a team. I mean as an industry. We can't support 40 StarCraft tournaments. Like there's not enough revenue coming in to the entire industry to support 40 StarCraft tournaments. And
well, I think the sponsors are starting to see that it's saturated. It's like what's your tournament? How's your tournament going to be any different than the 4 other tournaments that just happened the week before?
The exposure differential for us as teams sending players to events has been dropping so rapidly we can't even keep up with it.
But I think that this partnership will help in that too, because it will define who's going to survive and who's going to fall off. I mean,
we'll define what the events are, right? And I mean, they're already the big events, but it's even solidifying that, like as to.
Can I just throw something into the mix here, which a lot of people are talking about oversaturation right now, specifically in the StarCraft 2 community, and I think they need a little bit of perspective as well. I've been involved with communities which have been crying out for LAN events and have sometimes got by on 1 or 2 a year, and have survived tremendously well. Team Fortress 2 is one of those communities, which is a phenomenal community. It really is, and it survives on very little, to be fair. And they're crying out for more events, and here we are talking about the fact that we're spoiled by 40 events of the year. So I think there's a little reality check that needs to happen as well, is that I don't want less than 40 events. What I want is more structure, because I think what more structure will give us is the ability to attend the events that we want to attend as teams and players, and for the other guys, the little guys that want to get to these events, to be able to get to the events too. So just more structure, I think, will help us. We don't need less events, we need more structure.
Well,
structure. That's something I've been pushing for. It's got to be about structure.
I don't know if I completely agree with the fact that it could still be 40. I mean, adding structure, I absolutely agree with you, but there is a little bit of a bubble. I mean, there, a little bit of one that it needs to contract a little bit.
There's a whole bunch of people who came to the party. There wasn't enough seats on the bus. So many people got on the bus left, everybody else was left behind, and eventually, everything needs to re-equalize. That's a fact. I mean, and that's not just teams. I mean, that's just the whole scene. I mean, we have to decide all this inner competition.
There's one way to settle. There's one way to settle this: more boobs.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, yes. I agree with the chat.
3 boobs.
I think I want to make another point too, and that is that boobs aside, simply that like when I'm looking at 5-man team games, right? I'm looking at League of Legends, right? I'm looking at Counter-Strike Go. I'm looking at even Team Fortress 2 to a certain extent. I mean, things like that. These team games, I'm looking at having a North American team and keeping them in North America unless they qualify for a global championship event, which is paid for by the publisher. Do I want to send my 5-man team to Europe? No, I don't. I don't want to send my 5-man team to Europe.
Unless they're going to win you 50 grand and a great big check and lots of exposure in major national newspapers.
Or there's going to be some sort of revenue share in it, correct, Mark?
I don't take the money from the players, though. See, that's the thing, and all of us at the top have changed to that model now. We're not raking the player prize pool.
Maybe somebody should have rethink that model.
Yeah,
We should. But
yes.
you know what? If we rethought that model, we would need to rethink that model collaboratively. Otherwise, instantly we're giving one of our the person right across the table from us a competitive advantage. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a good point, but that's always going to happen too, because you're always going to have one team that's at the top that starts eating every player up because they have more cash flow, and that's just unfortunate.
But that brings us nicely onto the fact that MMA hasn't gone to Team EG. So every team has their limit.
Right. And there
I'm
are
not
things
sure
that
it's a
each
money
team
limit.
that can offer.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure it's
I'm
a
just
money
following
limit
now.
with MMA, but well, it could be. There
It's
could be
not
other
always
issues.
about money. God, I hope it's not always about money. I mean, from what I understand, Suppy was offered the same thing to stay with Check 6, which of course might have kept Check 6 alive, but he saw EG as a better opportunity. So a lot of times it doesn't have. I mean, again, this is about, and Paul was alluding to this earlier in the chat, is that there are a lot of things that teams could be doing differently that could increase their brand and what their brand means. If I'm a mid-tier StarCraft 2 player and EG offers me to be a part of their team, I would certainly take it, even if they weren't going to pay me shit to do it, because that's my dream. So, but that's because EG offers something to that player that's outside of money. And I'm sure Quantic has things that they do that they do differently than EG. So I think the teams, it's unfortunate money is a major part of it, but I don't think that has everything to do with it. I think there are ways that teams position themselves.
Sure,
yeah.
The brand power is definitely there, but I mean, I think going back to the original question, I have StarCraft players that live in Europe and are doing events in Korea and all this kind of stuff, and honestly, are they going to get me a bunch of exposure and this, that, and the other? The only reason that even works out for me on the books is because there's only one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the unit for exposure, the unit for return is one player. I get Sase to this one place, and I know he's going to top 8, and I know he's going to deliver a return to partners. And if I had to get 5 dudes there's no way I could make that happen.
Right.
See what I mean? Not at my current revenue levels. So, I mean...
Yeah.
It's just a fact of economies of scale. I think EG's got like 30 sponsors, so I mean they can get 5-man teams to the moon if they need to. But
all right, let's wrap that up and let's take some questions from the viewers. But I kind of want to obviously DreamHack winner and IEM Singapore, they're going to be great events. But I'll kind of leave it off with
awesome events.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it off with Paul. Where are you going to be this weekend?
Fuck, now I'm screwed now. Fucking, why did you ask me that?
You knew it was coming.
It's a bit awkward because my new employers, ESL TV, for those of you who don't know, I was offered a full-time role with ESL, which I accepted to move to Germany. So yes, another person leaving the UK. And that doesn't start until January. And unfortunately, I had an awkward conversation with ESL 2 weeks ago where they asked me to go out to Singapore, and I'm already booked for DreamHack. So that was a bit awkward. Luckily, this partnership has come along though, and kind of saved me.
Saved the day. Oh my god, that's so funny. That's so funny.
So yeah, I agreed a long time ago with DreamHack, unfortunately, for ESL, and they weren't aware. I didn't make them aware, so it's my fault, not their fault. So we've got 2 great tournaments going on this weekend, which I've sort of got an eye on both. IEM Singapore, but I will be at DreamHack. I will be doing Counter-Strike Go on Thursday and Friday. Which I'm really, really excited about. Counter-Strike is probably the game I've done most over the last 10 years, with a bit of Quake and a bit of Unreal Tournament thrown in as well. Right. But I'm just psyched to be able to go and do a Counter-Strike tournament again, and it doesn't really matter to me that it's Go or that it's 1.6 or that it's Source. It doesn't really matter. And then on the Saturday, I'll be doing StarCraft 2, hosting on the grand stage, the DreamHack Dream Arena, Ultimate Arena, or whatever they're going to call it, in the ice hockey stadium, which is going to be absolutely unbelievable. But what I'm most excited about is the Counter-Strike Go, because the production values in this Counter-Strike Go, if we pull it off, will probably be the best production you've ever seen of a Counter-Strike Go tournament and rival anything you've seen in esports right now. It really is exciting.
Do you think that will help the growth of the game?
I
Do you
hope
think
so.
that'll help
Yeah,
the growth? I hope so too.
A number of things will help. The production values will help. Hopefully, the commentary that me and Corey and Lurpis and Threat and I'm forgetting someone. I know I am. Khan. Oh my God. Hopefully, the five of us can pull off something that's amazing from a commentary and an analysis point of view. If any of you in the UK or Europe have seen Match of the Day, BBC's prime time football review of the day's football, that's what we're aiming for. So you're going to get analysis in between games and matches from people inside the studio. You're going to get full-on commentary during the matches. You're going to get insight. You're going to get analysis. You're going to get flying cranes going through the studio. You're going to get amazing camera shots. You're going to get everything that you could ever dream of in terms of production values. So if we pull that off, it will be absolutely fantastic. But it's not just the production; it's the fact that it's a ton of money as well. 300,000 SEK. By the way, 2 million SEK being given away this weekend for DreamHack. It's amazing. So it's like 40,000 euros for a CS:GO tournament. That's fantastic as well. And on top of that, we've got the best teams there. Not all of the best teams, I have to say. There's a couple. There's Area 51, which I'm disappointed about not being there. And it would have been nice to have got an Asian team in there as well. But we've got the South Americans. We've got the North Americans in the form of Curse and... trying to think now. What's the other one? Christ, my mind's gone completely blank. I should know this. Team Dynamic.
Oh,
Team Dynamic and Curse from the US, and then the very best of Europe as well. So Nip and Very Games and Mouse Sports from the UK. So we've got everything that we need to make it an amazing show, and I just hope that the production team and the commentators and the hosts can pull it off. But that said, there's also a phenomenal StarCraft 2 tournament taking place, the DreamHack ISO finals as well. And there's a ton of other stuff going on at DreamHack as well. There's music on the stage, and Christ, people are just going to be spoiled for choice as to what they watch. And then on top of that, you've got the ESL stuff going on in Singapore, which is also going to be amazing. We've got 4 Terrans. Terrans.
Look out.
Yeah.
IEM has 0.
Who are those Terrans?
Now you're asking me, but you can check it out. It's on the ESL Intel Extreme Masters page, which if you go to esl-world.net, you will find there's a ton of Terrans playing in there. There's open bracket qualifiers as well.
Oh, there's only 4.
And then you've got people like...
there's only 4 in Singapore, I'm sorry.
4 in Singapore, yeah.
Oh,
4
in
Terrans.
Singapore. Oh, I thought it was...
Yeah. 4 in Singapore.
DreamHack. Sorry, I misunderstood what you said.
Yeah.
In Singapore. And that's a $50,000 League of Legends final as well, 32,000 StarCraft 2 finals, Intel Extreme Masters Singapore. So that's going to be amazing as well. That's 22nd to the 25th.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, so we got some callers now. Got David here. Actually, David's from Quantic, I believe. Your guy.
Uh-oh.
He's got a question for ReDeYe, actually. Let me fix this.
Oh, okay. I'm not in chat right now. Sorry.
It's okay.
No, he's gonna bring him in.
He's calling in. David, you there? David.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, not bad.
Got a question?
Yeah, just a quick one.
All right, shoot.
Okay, so the chat was talking before about what can social media for teams, do better in a way, like what it is that we can do better on our Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, all of that kind of stuff. So I guess I kind of was never answered that, so I was just wondering what it is that we can do better.
Mr. Head of Social Media right here.
Yeah, David, that's a really good question, but it's a question that would probably take me a couple of hours to answer fully. I probably can sum it up in the fact that a lot of teams think they're doing social media really well, but from someone, I should probably explain, I'm head of social media for a very large UK agency, digital media agency. I run a social media department, and my day-to-day job is effectively making my clients more aware of social media and how to use it in a digital format commercially. And there are no teams out there right now doing that. None. I don't care who they are. They can be EG, they can be Fnatic. They're not using it properly. Some are doing a good job. Some are doing it okay. But no one's using it the way that they should be using it. Just as a random example, Google+. There's very few teams on Google+ right now. Yeah. Those that are on there aren't using it properly, aren't posting frequently enough, And the reason they're not is because I would imagine they're getting disheartened because they're not seeing lots of +1s and not seeing lots of comments like they do on their Facebook page. Well, that doesn't matter shit, because actually the reason that you're on Google Plus is to take advantage of all the social search stuff that's going on. Things like rel equals author, which is a piece of meta code that you can pop into your site, and you can link it up to an author's page on Google Plus, and you can start appearing in the search listings in Google with some micro formats which include your picture. And those are getting more click-through than any of the top 3 positions right now on Google. So that's one small example of how teams could be getting more traffic to their sites by utilizing rel equals author. And if they don't want to use author, they can use rel equals publisher, which does virtually the same thing. Enhanced listings is another benefit. There's direct connect now from Google as well, which you can get. If you type the plus key into Google Plus, you'll start seeing brands appear right at the top before you even get the listings. They'll just appear in the top. Again, no teams are really using that. Some teams are using Facebook the wrong way. Some people are thinking that the more followers they have, the better they are off. Well, that's not the case, because EdgeRank plays a major part in deciding who sees your posts, and there's no strategic posting. No one's posting at specific times to take advantage of certain demographics that might be on there. We all sort of think that we know how to use this stuff, but actually the science behind social media, and there is a science, is completely missing right now from teams. I've seen a lot of teams utilize the top space on the cover, for instance, on Facebook. Without boring you, this is the last point I'm going to make. Go and have a look at any team you like right now on Facebook. Pick one at random, one of the top teams, Fnatic, SK, EG, any of the ones that you think are top teams. Go on their Facebook page. I guarantee you they will be abusing the terms of service of Facebook by including marketing items in their cover photographs. Every single one of them. It's against the rules.
Marketing items like
sponsor logos.
Oh, sponsors logos. Okay.
Yeah, like any links whatsoever in terms of a URL. Not allowed in that cover art.
It's funny that you bring this up about Google Plus, because I was told not too long ago when Google Plus, I'd say almost 9 months ago, that somebody said to me, "Watch out, because as much as we think Google Plus is not going to succeed, it's because we're looking at it to succeed compared to Facebook, like as if it's a Facebook knockoff, and we're just expecting it to take over Facebook." It's not at all what it was, and that businesses use Google Plus a lot more effectively than individuals. And guess what? We're in a business,
absolutely.
So we should definitely be using it.
So there's one other thing that you can check as well. That's a bit of fun now, and I'm not going to pick on a particular team, but go to any team page and click on the like amount. So if they've got 169,000 likes, click on that box, and it will tell you where the predominant amount of likes are located in a city. And I guarantee you at least one of the top 5 teams will have India or an Indian city as their main city. Guaranteed way of showing that they've bought Facebook.
Why is that?
I wonder. It's ridiculous. Stop doing it. It's not going to work for you. There's lots of stuff.
I can say with absolute unequivocally, we've never done that.
That's good.
Our team actually, but there's a lot that have. We probably need a white paper on social media for esports, and
There you go.
Yeah, I'll do that in my spare time.
In your spare time.
I don't know if that answers your question, David, but it's as close as I can get right now.
Yeah.
No, awesome. Yeah, I know it answers it. I mean, I wasn't sure exactly what you meant by utilizing it properly. So, that's awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, David.
A lot of it's SEO, basically, right, Paul?
Yeah, a lot of
it's a mixture of what we call it social search. So it's an absolute broad, bridged mixture of what was traditional old SEO and new social media, and it's meeting the two in the middle to make sure that you're not just pumping out lots of status updates and lots of photographs, which are cool, they're fine, but that you're actually using a commercial savvy way that enables you to get higher rankings and therefore better traffic, because you get more traffic from a #1 position in Google for a keyword than you'll ever get from a tweet on Twitter.
Yeah, you want value in everything that you post, everything that you add to any of your content online here. Joseph,
you British people calling everybody twits, Paul. I don't know what the problem is.
I don't know what that's all about, man.
Hey, Joe, or Joseph, you there?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Hey, good. Welcome to Climbing the Ladder. You got a question?
Yeah, my question was focused around CSGO. Everybody's been saying to watch DreamHack for the numbers as to be what would be an accurate representation of how many people are watching it right now. if DreamHack was to be a disappointment, how long do you guys give CS:GO before it's just gonna, kind of fall aside and not be looked at?
Question.
I wouldn't put too much stock on the numbers right now. The game's still very early. We're still getting teams switching over. There's still a lot of things to be changed in the game. Well, not a lot of things, but still some things to be changed in the game. And I'm not going to say if we get poor number. I mean, what is a poor number? Is 10,000 too low? Is 30,000 too low? I don't know. We're not going to get the same numbers that League of Legends and StarCraft 2 get. You've got to remember these games have been established for nearly 3 years now. So we're not going to get that. CSGO's been out since August. I think anything 10,000 north is probably okay. But no, it's not going to define whether CSGO is successful or not. If you measure the quality of the play and you measure the quality of the production values, then if they fall short, then we've done a bad job. But other than that, it's down to other tournaments to see the excitement and what it can bring, and then pick it up and go from there.
I think the key for part of its success is what you talked about earlier. With it's going to require that the casters, the commentators, really involve viewers in the game. Because for me as an FPS player, I can follow it. For me, CS is basically crowding behind a box and throwing grenades. So I understand it from that perspective because I'm a Quake player. But getting some of these people that are fairly new to following FPS, the idea that what they've done with the game to kind of increase some of that visibility for the spectators, I think is key. But I also think ultimately it's going to be on the commentators to help new viewers understand what's happening better, and I think that will be a really good key, I think that will be a key to its success as well.
I'm gonna get at least one penis drawing on the overlay screen of CS:GO this weekend.
Absolutely.
Really?
Wait.
Isn't there going to be a penis strike on the whole time that you're on there?
Whose penis are we talking about here? Destiny's penis? Your penis?
Well, just a penis shape, I think.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to happen because inevitably I've been given an overlay screen on CS:GO TV that allows me to draw coloured lines. Now, if you think I'm not going to abuse that at some point this weekend, you've got obviously the wrong.
This is esports afterwards.
Not to be mad, you
Absolutely.
How are they doing that?
You can have some fun with the game, right?
That's pretty nice, man. Overlay where you can draw stuff on it? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there'll be some of that this weekend, I promise you.
That's one way to get people to watch.
We can do that with XSplit and StarCraft 2 as well, don't you?
What?
You can draw right on the game as it's brought up with XSplit. Yeah, it's some sort of thing, some sort of plugin that you can get and actually do it.
Oh, really? I haven't looked through the plugins.
A few people have tried it.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't looked. I mean, you can install a bunch of these modules here, but I just haven't looked recently, so not too sure. So, guys, we're out of callers. Usually we have a ton of callers, but if you guys don't have Skype, you can always just type out your questions.
I bought them silly via social media. That's what it was.
So we don't actually have Key Hunt? Are you serious?
I don't think Kurt's here. Kurt was here earlier, but he usually tells me when he's ready, man. He tells me when he's ready normally.
There was a couple of questions that I had seen. I wanted to.
This is so funny, Paul. You're killer, man. That's so awesome. I'm going around the Facebook pages now. Mumbai, India. I'm like, what?
Mumbai. It's like.
Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it on Clan's Facebook pages?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Let me see what mine says. Let me see what mine says. Brisbane, Australia. If your Facebook's Brisbane, Australia, then you're legit.
Fanatics is Mumbai, I'm being told. Is that true?
Yeah, Fanatics is Mumbai, and mine's Brisbane.
What are you talking about, dude? There's a large population of esports fans in Mumbai. Okay.
Come on.
They just don't have computers. Okay. They just know. Okay.
They just know.
They just know about it.
Somebody did.
There's a question from NPC says, I noticed you're new into StarCraft. I'm not actually that new to StarCraft. I've been at StarCraft events for 7 years now. But yeah, I've never commentated on it, never will commentate on it, but I host events for StarCraft 2. Am I planning to get more into it? Well, I play the game, but I'm not very good. And no, I didn't join ESL mainly for CS or SC2. I joined them mainly to join their senior management team, help them grow, give them more organisation.
And because they're going to pay.
and take a salary to be able to do a job I love doing in esports, which allows me to go and host and do commentary and do some shows.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who's the best host when it's not you?
That's tricky.
Who
Clutch
are
does a really good job.
Who are the choices?
Well, Clutch does a really good job in the US. I think you have to know your audience, and Clutch certainly knows that. I think James, too good. He's a decent host, but he's very irreverent. I think
Very irreverent.
possibly less professional than I am. I think he'd probably admit that.
Possibly less
But
professional.
that's part of his appeal. I think Jarrett Kale is a really good host. I think Jarrett's doing
Jarrett's
IEM this weekend, by the way, in Singapore. So you just tune in. If you look at Pure Ownage or Pure Pwnage, depending on how you want to talk about it, Jarrett is going to be doing IEM Singapore this weekend, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of good hosts out there. Got Rachel as well. I think Rachel's done a great job this year. Day 9 is a great host. I mean, not many people look at him as a host, but he is a host as well.
I think he's pretty good. He's real
Yeah, I
personable.
think he's a decent guy. And then of course you've got the master of all hosts, which is DJ Week. So there's loads of them out there, tons. We're spoiled right now. Got lots of great casters and lots of really good hosts.
DJ Weed, man, he's so, like he says stuff that pisses me off sometimes. Sometimes he gets mad at me and everything like that, but I just can't help but love this guy. I don't know why. He's awesome, man.
No, Weed is
He's
awesome.
a lovely
Weed is
guy.
definitely awesome. What was that?
He wears his heart on his sleeve, and
Yeah, he does.
He does.
I love
It's
people.
genuine
I-
emotion.
I'm
You
similar.
can tell.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
legit.
I can't believe how many. I mean, you see how pissed he got when people were trolling what happened.
Absolutely.
That he had to
Yeah.
leave. That was horrible.
Well, dude, come on. That was distasteful.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And
he probably
why-
should have
So-
checked Twitter though.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing.
Well, you can say he should have done this and he should have done
But
that.
he does
Line
that. We do it every day. That's our job.
We're tempted by the
He cared. And if he didn't care, then he wouldn't have reacted like that. And then
Right.
you'd have said, "Oh, well, he's an automaton and he's heartless and he's got no emotion." Well, he does. So
You did very much.
Well, he's it was definitely a pretty scary time for him. So
Oh, hey, man.
hopefully
Hey,
through
wait. I'm here to report EG is legit. They are from Lima, Peru.
Whoa. How do you know Lima, Peru is legit? Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Peruvian people are like, hey, what about Quantix Australia, bro? I mean, come on, like.
Australia. Okay. I'll give.
At least it's an
Australia.
English-speaking
Give you
country.
Australia. Yeah, that's true. That's true. WCS Australia was It was a good event too.
But before it was Australia, it was Sweden, which made perfect sense because of the Sase Naniwa. So. But,
Hey, Paul, I got a question for you. Do you think anytime soon, let's say in the next 5 years, that we'll see a dual FPS game rise to the levels that Quake was?
God, I hope so.
I do too.
I really fucking hope so. It's just too long. I mean, you've got Too Good working on some sort of vaporware right now, but
Yeah, whatever.
Vaporware? Oh my, please. Oh god.
I don't know. I
hope
think
he's not.
ID
Please
Software
tell me
can
he's
do
not.
it.
Reborn
again.
is currently vaporware.
Oh
but,
god.
Who knows?
I mean, is it going to be a realistic
joke about
game?
it.
Is it going to be like
I joke about it, but I hope actually he's successful because he's one of the people, like him or loathe him, he actually understands. I mean, he was a really good player in Quake 3 and Quake 4 for that matter. And he knows what makes a great FPS 1v1 duel game. So because of that, if he can't make it work, then I'm not sure who else can. There's only other one guy I would trust in, that's CCM. Who has, I believe he has a Harvard degree in mathematics. That's how smart that guy is.
He's already created a game, actually.
Yeah,
It's pretty
but
fun.
a 1v1 FPS like Quake would be amazing if we could somehow get Too Good to turn gay, sleep with CZM, and then for one of them to have the first male child who could then build a 1v1 FPS in 20 years from now. That would be amazing. That would almost be like the NSL sound guy having a child and putting him in charge of the BWC. No way that happened.
Oh man. All right. Well, looks like I think we'll be done with questions. All right, one more question. How about that? Oh, somebody already asked who has the biggest shot. Didn't they? Somebody asked some. So it looks like Woo Deer is asking. Besides Nip, who do you think has the biggest shot at winning CS:GO at DreamHack this weekend?
Well, it's quite interesting because we've got a number of teams who have sort of been around. I mean, Nip and Very Games are the two best teams right now.
Yep.
By a fair margin, I have to say. So it would be a surprise if we saw anyone else win the tournament other than those two. But then ESC, you can never count out those 5 poles. They're playing League of Legends like crazy at the moment, but I guarantee you they will not like getting beat at ESWC. They really won't. They are true winners of anything that they do, and they'll want to do it properly. So I know that they've been boot camping quite hard. It would be a surprise if ESC didn't at least make it out of the groups. But then they're in a really tough group because Mouse Sports UK are in there. No one's really heard about what they're doing, but I know they've been playing. I know they're clocking up the hours in CSGO. So it'd be interesting to see what Mouse Sports do in there. And then in the same group, if that wasn't enough, we've got Fnatic, who no one's heard from right now. They've been playing 1.6 and they've been playing CS Online in China. And they've just had a lineup change of one player. So who the hell knows what Fnatic are going to do? They could turn up and just blow everyone away. Likewise, they could turn up and finish bottom of their group without a point. So it's really unknown. And the two American teams are sort of not an unknown quantity, but many people would have Area 51 as probably the best US team right now for Go. And instead, we've got two different US teams, and Curse relatively sort of new to it, I suppose, in terms of European action. So it'd be interesting to see how those two do. The Brazilians they've always got Kogu, so you never know what the hell they're going to do. That guy is, if you're not familiar with CSGO, just tune in to watch one of the pro gaming TD matches and watch Kogu, because the guy is like a bot. He's just insane, whatever game he plays. I've played with him in a practice room in LA on Counter-Strike Source, and he'd been playing it for about a week, and the kid was unbelievable. I mean, seriously, dropping people all over the place. So they're in there as well. And then you've got some Danish teams. There are 4 Danish teams in this tournament, and any of them could surprise. 3D Max are my sort of outside team to make it through to the later stages. They were very good in the qualifiers. And Nexus are always strong, got some great players. So yeah, there's any one of the teams outside Nip and Very Games could sneak in if those two falter.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. I think we're going to call it a show and going into shout-outs.
But
Paul,
one more question.
Okay,
they wanted to know who Paul thought would win Quake.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I saw that. Everybody's saying Rafa.
Rafa.
Or Cooler. I mean, I should go with Cooler because he doesn't have to turn up. He'll just have mind games to win the tournament.
Yeah, well, a lot of Cooler fans would think that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Cooler. It's fantastic.
But Paul, man, always a fun time, man, having you on here. But you got any shout-outs you want to do?
Pleasure to be
Definitely one of my favorite people in esports, man. You have nothing but love from me, man, for sure.
I appreciate it. Same for you guys. It's great that you're putting on another show, and onwards and upwards for you guys as well. I really appreciate the fact that you guys put on a weekly show, and I think other people should tune in more often as well. Should have a lot more viewers and a lot more stuff on the VOD. So good job.
We're going to have to get better at your social media part of it. We're going to have to do.
We're going to use some Google Plus.
Oh, it must be Google Plus. It must be.
Have I converted everyone?
Yes, you have. I mean, actually, as soon as I get done here, I'm going to check it out.
Actually, Skype for Mac is
It's
garbage,
so funny, actually, because my co-owners refuse to participate in any discussions about SEO or about any of that stuff. Like, literally, like, we bring up SEO, and the two of them drop off the call. They're like, we work for Google, we can't be here, goodbye.
I'm going to give you guys one small tip, okay? Mm-hmm. One small tip that will get you guaranteed more traffic to your website.
Hold on, let me get a piece of paper and write this down.
Okay? All you need to do is have Google Plus account, right? And when you decide to post something brand new, don't post it to Twitter. Post it to Google Plus first, and I guarantee you it will appear in Google's search index far quicker than using any other social media platform. There's your tip for the day.
I wonder why.
Oh, I wonder.
Something to do with being the largest consumer of power in the United States?
Well, not to mention
something
same
to do with the fact it's
their product.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Search engine. Right. But yeah.
Why am I looking? Oh, this is so retarded. I can't believe I'm.
Are you still looking at Teams to see where their likes are coming from?
So today we announced this thing about Alienware providing us all the gear for our facility and everything, and I'm looking for it on Dignitas's Facebook page because I'm like so in the clouds right now. I'm like, how come this isn't on here? I'm like, oh wait, this is Dignitas. So I'm gonna go like copy this and like send it over to the other Google Plus because we are on Google Plus, we just don't use it enough. So yeah, we're gonna try this. All right, I'm following your advice, bro.
Fine.
All right. Any other shout outs, Paul?
Just to all the people that I'm going to be working with at the weekend. DreamHack production crew, always fantastic. I'm actually getting the privilege of working with Corey Dunn this weekend for the first time in my entire career.
Awesome. He is so awesome.
Corey and I have known each other for probably about 7 or 8 years. We've chatted regularly. We were in opposite sides of the commentary fence. We was in TSN, I was in ITG. Never stopped us talking about stuff. And oddly, about a month ago, he said, dude, isn't it strange how we've somehow never ended up at the same tournament at the same time? We've never commentated together. It's so weird, right? And I went, yeah, that's pretty spooky. And then 2 days later, I got a call from DreamHack saying, how do you feel about Corey Dunn being at DreamHack? I was like, Jesus, that's so weird. So yes, I'm really thrilled to be able to do that with Corey. Awesome. And obviously we've got 3 fantastic players to analyse the games as well, Threat, Khan and Lurpis as well. So I'm really, really looking forward to the CSGO, and obviously this StarCraft 2 is just going to be awesome and exciting as well. So yeah, to all the people that I'm working with at the weekend, I'll be there Thursday afternoon, and I hope we have a great weekend. And to all my friends out at Singapore, having a great time with ESL in the warmth and the sun. Thanks. I'll be in Sweden where it'll be bitterly cold.
It is cold right now. But yeah, 2 events. Definitely check those out.
They're my shouts. So yeah, and thanks for having me on the show. Thanks, guys.
Of course. John, you want to go next?
I don't really have any shout-outs today. I do have one. It's a kind of an inside story, but shout-outs to all of those that are in the industry that are supporting my efforts and what I'm doing in esports, and I appreciate it. That's my shout-out.
All right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris and John, my invaluable co-hosts and cohorts in crime. You, Paul, for coming on the show. Of course, the team, everybody all on staff at Quantic, our players, our partners and sponsors, Twitch TV, Machinima Versus, DB Vision, Razer, and Alienware for being the exclusive provider of gear for our facility in SoCal, and yeah, all of our fans, of course. We would be nothing without you guys. Thank you.
And I just want my shout-outs. I just want to say, of course, thanks to everybody, particularly Paul and Mark and John, always for being, great co-hosts and friends. Whenever there's advice needed. And see any shout? There's another shout. Oh, big shout-out to Blizzard for, just all the little things like giving me like HOTS beta keys to give to you guys and that sort of thing. It's really cool that even Blizzard supports projects that I do too. That's kind of really, really cool on their part. And tomorrow, I just want to let you guys know in case you didn't know, Pro Corner is not going to be on Thursday because of Thanksgiving. So Pro Corner is going to be on tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to have baby night, and we're going to go through BWC and all him beating Rain. So we're going to be walking through some of those replays. So it should be a lot of fun. But the VOD for this will be up like immediately after the show. And another thing, a big thanks to ReDeYe. ReDeYe is going to start doing the MP3s for this show. And he's going to be posting it kind of like he does for ITG and all those other shows that he does it for. So he is a baller, and huge thanks for him, because a lot of folks have been wanting MP3 versions of the show so they can listen to it on the commute to work and that sort of thing. So when you see him, give him a big thank you, because he is the man. But that's going to be it for Climbing the Ladder this week. We will see you next week. Peace.
Peace.